Awesome. Well, welcome to Go Long Studios.
Thank you.
Today,
Thank
we've got
you.
Peter Sparks Art, my man, my neighbor,
Yes.
my friend, and also producer of many fine pieces in my collection.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to talk about it with you. We can share with the world everything that I already know, and I'm lucky enough to have witnessed firsthand, man.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate this. This is
Dude, I'm
pretty
stoked.
awesome.
I'm
Me
stoked.
too. Me too.
And you know, it's really cool because your son-in-law gets to
Yeah.
show you what he can do in his element.
Yes.
So, we're one big happy family
That's
right
it.
here, right?
That's it. That's how we do it. That's
yes,
right.
sir. So Pete, man, I mean, it's kind of fun because obviously knowing you as an artist, once I discovered that, all the directions it's kind of gone.
Yeah.
I mean, in taking of what I've even curated in my collection of your works, your sports, iconic sports, your iconic sports art to subject art to just all the different styles, man. So in talking with that, I mean, tell me about what got you started in art, what your early inspiration was, and I mean, how did you develop your style?
Well, great, man. What really got me, I've always been into art. My brother was an artist, so I would try to mimic a lot of the stuff he would do with the comic books and just kind of, sketch out characters in comic books.
So he was
and
like
stuff.
an illustrator?
No, he wasn't that. He was, he would just do it himself.
Yeah.
Self-taught. And so I got to, kind of fancied that a little bit, and then, eventually coloring books, learning how to color inside the lines and all that, make my stuff a little bit better. But as I got older,
You just want to be better than your brother at something.
of course, I'm a little brother, thing going
like,
on.
watch this.
But as I got older, the school started noticing, the talent, and my mom, definitely noticed it, and she said, "Okay, it's time you actually do something with this talent. I'm not going to let you waste it. You have a talent, and you need to manifest it." So she started hooked me up with a famous artist local here in Houston by the name of Burford E. Evans, and at the age of
Mr.
13.
Evans. The teeth.
Yeah.
The teeth. I had the
Teeth are
pleasure
flat.
of meeting Mr. Evans.
Yeah. She did. Yeah.
What an iconic man, and also to see the respect that he held and had from all of many successful artists as yourself.
Yes.
I got to go out to his studio and see his works. Tell me a little bit about his influence on you, man.
Oh man, great! What an influence. At the age of 13, my mom took me and my brother to meet him.
Wow.
And
You've known him since you were 13.
13 years old.
So like 15 years?
Like 30 something.
No, I'm joking. No, I'm just giving you a compliment there, brother.
I take it. So we started studying under him, and I remember my mom taking my artwork, and the art instructor gave me a B on it.
Okay.
And he got so mad about it, and I didn't think nothing of it. So
He didn't think it was a B, did he?
No, he's like, why did he give you a B? Just because you didn't define their chin with. I defined the chin. I was doing a face or something, drug campaign, and I had a beard, a goatee on him, and she gave me a B because I didn't have a neck, and so he just went.
That's why
nuts
people
over
grow
that.
beards to hide their neck or their
exactly.
chin.
I wish I can get mine. But so from there it just started, man. We started having class at his house.
Okay.
At his studio, I remember the very first thing that he taught me was lines, doing a whole bunch of straight lines, and I must have did lines all like for at least 2 sessions. I'm like, what is this?
It was
He's
wax
like,
on, wax off is what
pretty
that was.
much, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, if you can do a straight line, you can sketch anything, but learn how to do he said a lot of people can't do straight lines, and he said try it. And
Interesting.
So that was the first lesson, and then we went from there to shadows, to learning how to do eyes and sketch eyes, noses, mouths, ears, the whole profile of a face, doing those and learning how to shadowing and learning the value scale. And then we went into color theory, learning how to mix colors to get certain colors, what primary colors mixes with your secondary colors, you
Yep.
know, and tertiary colors.
Which
and,
it's an art in itself, right? I mean, saves you money, but also gives you unlimited options too. The better you get at it.
Well, you have to know color theory as an artist. You should. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's important because you should know what tones, what light is. If a light is hitting reflected light, and how's that, you know, gonna value? How's the skin
There's
gonna?
that example
You know,
right there.
exactly.
What
So,
you did with the light. Tell
yeah.
me a little bit about that, man, and tell me about the piece,
Well, this is a piece of my wife,
Miss Tinge.
Miss Tan. Yes.
Love it.
This is a early piece of we had went on our first cruise, and I snuck up behind her because we were at the front of the cruise, and I snuck up behind her and I called her name, and she turned around and I took the picture. I snapped it,
Mm-hmm.
and that picture was one that I wanted to come back and paint, and so I did. I came back, I painted it. Of course, I got a C on it from Mr. Evans. You know, he was critiquing. That's another thing. He critiqued everything I did. But you know, that
Always
was
wanting to get you better, though. He knew what your potential was, right?
Always. It was always about getting better. You
Yeah.
know, I asked him one time long ago. I said, you know, what makes you an artist? What makes you a great master artist? He said, what makes you a master artist is when you can copy other masters and you can duplicate their work. You know, he said, then you can kind of have that status. But he goes, you always learn. You always try to learn something new in it.
Sure.
Yeah. So
New disciplines, new styles.
yes.
I've tested you, if you will. You know, like one day, what was it? You know, I think when I was building out my creative space,
Mhm.
I wanted a statement piece on the wall,
Yeah.
but also someone influential in my life. And you know, let's talk about that project and how it came to Bourdain. I mean,
Yeah.
how that came to life.
Bourdain's, man. I mean, you know, I always love doing inspirational pieces, especially
Yeah.
if it means something to somebody else or myself. The Bourdain came around just having conversation with you, you
Yep.
know. And I think I asked you, it was like, what is it about this man that you know is capturing you? And I tried to get that essence of what was important to you about him and capture that.
Mhm.
I started with a
Do you remember what I said?
yeah. You was just like how relentless he was of what he wanted to do.
And he didn't give a fuck.
He did not care. He didn't care. That was the other thing, and that was your personality.
Yeah.
You know. So I started with more of a portrait abstract style with the
Yes.
Bourdains,
Yeah.
and that was something that I found that was really satisfying to me. Very
that
yeah,
piece right
something
there. You know, when I just looked at it and you know, we were looking at just some images, some
Yeah.
portraits of him.
Yeah.
And then kind of looking at the style. And there was one similar to that. And I said, you know, Pete, I don't want you to, like, you know, Mr. Evans said, what makes you masters when you can replicate the
Right.
masters, right?
Right.
Well, we said, man, you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit for the originality, right? So that piece right there, that one I ended up gifting,
Yeah.
you know, to a man that created art in a mechanical
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
But you know, when he saw it and I saw his eyes and
Oh,
just
man.
his excitement,
So
and I
stoked.
knew he appreciated it just as much as I did. He also gave us some very, very sage advice.
Yes, he
because
did.
I gave him the original.
Yeah.
And I said, it's all good. You take this one. Pete's going to do another one for me. And what did he say?
Nope. No, you can't.
We didn't think about that
No.
at first, did we? But how much sense did it make?
It
What
made
did
a lot of
Matthew
sense.
say?
He basically is like, why would you duplicate something that's an original? you know?
Yes.
And he was like, you don't want to, you know, duplicate two originals.
No.
And he said that's not going to take this. Your value goes down from there. You know.
And what did we do? We found two more
We found another Bourdain.
awesome
Yeah.
photos
Yeah.
of the one where I remember, and I told you the story behind that one, and that one just
Yeah.
further exuded like my perception and just resemblance of him. Of, you know, he was hounded by media.
Yeah.
He was in a very bad state, but you know, he also just still, you know, was going to be himself.
Yeah.
And the other one was, oh, I love it, and that was the last piece.
Yeah.
Talk about that last piece.
That was fun. That was real.
That one you had the most fun with, brother.
Yeah, I did. I did. That piece, it was very I wanted to capture a lot of color in there, and still do
We went back and forth
we
on like
did.
what the way we wanted to go on it.
Yeah, I didn't want it too abstract at the same
Yeah, we
time.
didn't. We were just like,
You
no,
know,
this one's got to be a little.
it's got to have a little bit of crisp to it, man. And the hog head. Oh my God! I said, let's go fun with
Yes.
this hog head.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. That
yeah,
was a lot
man.
of fun.
That
And
was
just
the scene, and we even kind of juxtaposed the scene a little
yes,
bit.
yeah,
Kind of did the negative color.
yeah,
So man, I mean, it's just been fun, and you know, I love supporting my friends and just being a part of art
yeah,
because I don't have that creative skill to, but I see it in my daughter, and
yeah,
you can tell those that have it. But I enjoy being part of the process, and you know, some creators like look at me funny because as a consumer or a client,
yeah,
they're like, okay, I want to be me, but I'm sure you're going to tell me, and in you and in Matthew with the car,
mhm,
y'all were just kind of taken aback because
yeah,
they're like, wait, I'm like, dude, yeah, creative freedom, like
yeah.
you do
And
you,
that's important as an artist because you got two types of artists. You got creative artists and you have artists that are more technicians.
commission
You
style,
know,
yeah.
I'm more of a technician of art
Okay.
than I am creative. I can be. I'm
Mhm.
trying to get creative because creativity is so natural. It comes natural.
We were
You
talking about
know.
that last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your creative process begins after the concept.
That's right.
And so that's where it's kind of fun,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas the creative process can be here, but then the concept is difficult
Right.
to structure.
Right.
And so, and that's what I love about working with you is
Yeah.
I can just bring you the idea
Give me an idea. Yeah.
and
And we
then
go
you
from there.
fucking do your thing,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Um
Kids
like
art. Kids art is my favorite art. That's my favorite type of art because they're creative in such a way that it expresses through the color and through their style and
and
everything.
they don't
And
know
they
the
and they
rules,
don't
so
care.
they're
They don't know the rules of art
yeah,
because
man.
there's rules in art. There are true rules of art, you know.
Yeah.
But when you have the creativity style as a kid,
Yes.
it's there's an all there it's off the board, man. It's no
No
rules,
rules.
you
Like
know.
everything's on the table,
Yeah,
right?
and it's
And
the best
so
type of art there is.
I remember we were just dying
Mhm.
laughing when Sophia, my daughter,
Yeah.
got one of her pieces in the rodeo.
Mhm.
And they said, we want a grassy hill, we want a cow, a sheep, and a chicken.
Mhm.
And she put a grassy hill with a cow, with the sheep standing on top of the cow and the chicken standing up on top of the sheep or
I
whatever.
remember that.
And it was like, dude, I mean, like, you don't think of it, but you're
Yeah.
like, that's pretty darn cool.
That's it.
And but asking her, I'm like, how'd you think of that? Just like, well, they told me, and that's just what I saw in my
Mhm.
head. And I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, and as far as just supporting the growth, and then obviously the youth, and you going to Mr. Evans in the studio to constantly hone your craft, you've started a art school, kind of
Mhm.
like paint party, if you will, but more of like uh, more educational than just a paint party, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about what you've been doing over there at the
Yeah.
warehouses, and
So at my studio, I have students. I do have students that come in occasionally. Most of them are in Austin, believe it or not.
oh really?
But they'll come in and they'll just learn to get better, just like I did. So
Yeah,
they'll bring me a piece, and we work on it together. I'll break it down, just like Mr. Evans did
there you
me.
go.
Break the whole thing down, show them how to fix it, and then mess it up and, and let them fix it again, basically. But as you learn how to do the same thing I learned,
Yeah,
there are rules to art that you should know and you should do as an artist, as a learning how to be
basic
an artist.
principles, right?
Right.
Rules,
And
principles.
but
Yeah,
people they need that. They
of course,
need that structure on the art style. And but their style comes from themselves. They're
100%.
gonna do it how they want to do it.
Yep.
They just need that, you know, here, let's do it like this. Or, if we're gonna have this shadow, we need to have this color next to it. You
Yes.
can't have a white, dark light. It has to be light, dark, light, not dark on dark or light on light.
Like you can't wear
always
black
have that.
pants with a brown belt.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You can, but
Yeah.
you might get a critic that's going to be like, you can't do that. So
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to also have fun and then learn how to be a rule breaker sometimes. with
For
your
sure,
art,
man. And so, what's speaking of have fun? I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because, what best practices or what activities have kept you to where, now that you are a paid artist,
Mhm.
how have you kept it fun, man?
The way I like to keep it fun is just by doing different stuff, different styles. So
Yes.
I might have one day I'm doing portrait art.
Okay.
Well, portrait artwork, it consists of a lot, a lot of studying, and then I might have another painting next to it that's completely abstract.
Yeah.
Where I'm actually taking a brush and I'm slinging paint around.
There you go.
I mean, that's kind of fun for me. The study of everything. Believe it or not, it sounds boring, but it's fun for me. I had to when coming to do a portrait art piece of portrait, I actually have to look at and study the subject for at least a day or two before I even touch it.
It makes sense though.
You know?
It's like, writing a book about something. I mean, these authors, they
Yeah.
go and they research the town that
Yeah.
they're writing about, or you want to give credit where it's due. You want to, history. You want to tell the story, and you want to represent and be as passionate about that subject as your client is, because I can tell, once you started falling in with the story of Bourdain and learning more about the individual, you put more heart into it.
Yeah. Well, colors can express certain feelings too.
Yep.
So you can always, I feel this color that he was trying to, through this picture. I feel, even though it was a black and white picture I went off of when I did
Correct.
one of the Bourdains for you, just the passion
I
that
sure didn't
he
make
had.
it easy on you, did I?
No, it's okay. I like a challenge though.
Oh, I know you do. No, I'm just sitting here
Especially
thinking,
with
I'm like,
art,
man, I was a dick. No,
No, not
no,
at all.
dude. You placed those colors like where his face was,
Yeah.
what emotions were going
Yeah.
through him.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of warms and you've seen a lot of cools in
You
that
did,
painting.
you did.
do, and a lot of expression
Yeah.
through those colors. So color is important, and expressing yourself through color and through art. I mean, how free can one person be? I mean, I could have a bad day at work
and as free as you want, man.
and come home and just go work on some artwork, and next thing you know, I done forgot.
I can't tell you.
I have paintings that I have one painting I did hanging up in my house, and I call it Burning Hearts.
Okay.
Well, the way this painting came about is my wife and I got into a huge heated argument about whatever, and instead of just
It's
leaving,
funny how quickly you forget that stuff, right?
well, it is, but because exactly what I did, I went in the garage,
Yep.
I pulled out the paints,
Put
pulled
your
out the
emotions
brushes,
on canvas.
and I put it on canvas, man. And next thing you know, probably maybe a couple of hours go by. I couldn't even remember why I was mad.
Exactly.
I released it.
You did.
So in a way, yeah, painting does have a factor of healing. And that's something I
Oh,
would
yeah, it
like to
does.
do when I start classes,
Yeah.
is to let people know how you can have this as an emotional healing support
Outlet,
for
yeah.
you, outlet.
Yeah.
So so you come in, you're gonna come to class on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or Wednesday, and have about an hour, a good 3 hour session with me, and we're going to work on some art.
Yep.
So
Leave
It's
your
important.
problems at the door.
you leave it at the door, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it helps for that.
I can't tell you how many times I kind of miss your studio in the garage next door, because when I would have bad days, I'd walk
Yeah.
over there and
Yeah.
you just listen and do your thing, and I got to watch you do your
Yeah.
thing and just emotional vomit out of my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That's what it's supposed to
And
be.
I'd walk out of there forgetting why I was mad too,
Yeah.
just by watching you paint. A little bit about what we have hanging here, man. I want to hear your story about these two pieces. They're gorgeous. The detail is I mean, gosh, I don't think the camera is going to do it justice as far as capturing this amount of detail. But when this concept got brought to you, and then how it evolved and where it is now is Pretty cool, man.
I've never really known much about Rolex except that, you know, it was a name brand watch and it was a, you know, so the journey of these paintings got me to really, really, really appreciate the detail that Rolex puts in their watches. One thing that I did that is kind of different from any like if I were to bring this to Mr. Evans, he wouldn't even want to mess with it.
He said, "Don't take that job."
Well, the reason why it's special to me is because I did it in acrylic versus oil.
Ah,
So when you're painting, and a lot of my artwork, even some of my portrait work is I've been trying to work in acrylic because
okay.
it's a different medium than oil. Oil you're able to render. Acrylic you have to do layers.
Because oil, well, acrylic, you're having to wait for the paint to dry to correct.
Let it dry, and then
Yeah.
you paint over it. So
Gotcha.
with this particular pieces, the whole thing that was done in acrylic, which made it 10 times hard
Huh.
to do. Plus, it was a lot of detail. You know, that's the cool thing about Rolex. God, man, I mean, they have so much detail in
It's
their work
insane. It is
that
insane.
I did my best to try to capture it. You
And
know,
you did, man. You know, the Sprite, you know, let's talk about the differences in the two.
so the Sprite.
Obviously, we can notice one significant.
So you have the Pepsi. So these particular watches is a series of 4 of them, and their Rolex had a brand. They came out with a series of Coca-Cola brand.
Yeah, Sprite,
Sprite,
Pepsi, root beer, and Coke.
and Coke.
Right?
Yes. So these were from basically the person that commissioned me to do these it was very important to them.
Yeah.
You know, they had meaning for them. That's why it was, you know, to get the detail right. It particularly, it usually doesn't take me long to do a painting,
Mm-hmm.
but these particular paintings took me a minute to do.
The amount of detail, I'm
because
sure.
it was so much detail and it was so much I was trying to capture. I know the Sprite had a significant meaning for the customer because of the date.
Okay.
So you know, even the date was not the right date, and I actually put the date that he wanted me to put in there for him.
Gotcha.
So those were meaningful as well because of that, and just I'm excited, man, to see some more.
It is, and I think, I mean, I can't wait to see the Coke and the
Oh
root
yeah,
beer too. It's just because you look at that detail just in the bracelet, right? And then you've got the bezel, the dial, the crown. The Sprite is it's their only left-handed watch,
yeah,
so that makes it special. It's on the left side, and it looks like those are the Jubilee bracelets. So those, man, it's just like it's amazing how you have, you know, this black background makes it pop
yeah,
so insanely.
yeah.
But like the detail on those links, man, it's just insane. So subject artistry, I mean that's just bad to the bone. And you've done another piece, I think it was the Rolex Daytona,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and we'll get an image of that and bake it through later down the road or in this broadcast. But that one tell me about the difference between
Oh
that
yeah.
one and these.
That was a pretty cool watch too because the Daytona. I actually like the Daytonas a lot. Looking at them.
A little bit more going
A
on
little
the
bit more,
dial.
you know, and they're a little bit thicker, bigger.
Yep.
But that was more of an abstract, you know, which
Oh,
was really cool because now we're combining still life with abstract, and that's a lot of
yeah.
fun to do.
I'm
So that's why
sure.
that particular piece was fun with me because you had a lot. It looked like broken glass on top of the
It was
actual
like broken
water or
stained
something.
glass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
I
So it
mean,
was just a lot going on, and
there was a whole
the
lot going
watch was
on.
jumping out of
Yeah.
that canvas, dude. It was insane.
Yeah.
So as far as, like, you know, your choice of subjects, um, when you're doing paint, now that you're probably so busy, you probably don't have time to paint for yourself. But you know, when you were say younger in your career at
Mhm.
it, how would you pick your subjects, or what was it to you that would just draw you to say, I'm going to paint this?
Something that inspired me. Like for a while, I started doing a lot of football pieces. So certain players inspired
The
me.
JJ.
Watts was one of my very big inspiring
But
painters.
hey, I know the best one is hanging in my son's room. CJ
Stroud,
Stroud.
Stroud was
That
Stroud.
is the sickest.
Yeah, yeah,
That is the sickest. And dude, it brings up like a topic that's, sensitive or controversial. But we were inspired and we used AI as a tool
Mhm.
to create the concept of that image.
Mhm.
Do you remember? We would pick out
Yeah.
the discipline
Yeah.
or the style,
Mhm.
and it was an artist that you loved the
Yeah.
style. And what was his name?
Leroy Neiman.
Leroy Neiman.
He's a huge artist here in Houston for
Yeah.
sports.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we were like, okay, depict,
Mhm.
by using our prompt language, depict in the style of Leroy Neiman, a quarterback
Mhm.
in the end zone celebrating.
Yeah.
And it generates
Yeah.
something. And I mean, obviously, I don't think AI is ever gonna. Well, maybe it is. I don't let me say that, but it generated a kind of a concept or
Yeah.
an idea, and then we took the subject,
Yeah.
and you did your
Yeah.
thing, brother.
Yeah. Because Leroy Neiman, his style was more impressionistic art.
Okay,
So impressionistic was like you could barely figure out what the faces was. It was somebody maybe shooting a basketball, but you just see an image of them shooting basketball. You didn't see the detail in the face, or you didn't see
correct.
none of that. So you seen a lot of colors. He used a lot of different lively colors to bring that expression out. It was very very impressionistic style that he used. With
Hey,
with that Stroud, I tried to do the whole thing was almost done in palette knife.
wow,
Yeah, just about the
it's
whole thing
insane.
was done in almost in palette knife
You,
because that's how I was trying to even capture a little bit of that impressionistic because it's not an impressionistic painting.
no, it's not.
It's not.
It's almost got a little pointillism.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Where
Yeah.
you're that
Yeah.
famous artist from France or
Yeah.
whatever. To where, I mean, dude, that's a talent in itself to like not blend colors together on the canvas, but you're blending through the dots.
That's
Kind
right.
of.
Yeah.
Oh man. And so
Mm.
dude, it just amazes me of how many different styles you can do. But that makes you, in my opinion, more desirable for clients
Yeah.
to you're flexible,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the cool thing about studying with Mr. Evans is that's how he taught me. He didn't teach me, okay, you're just going to do this, learn this one. I'm just going to teach you how to do portraits.
And stick to it.
And that's all you're going to do as a
Yeah.
portrait artist. No. He taught me how to be a landscape artist. He taught me how to be a portrait artist. He taught me how to be an abstract artist. He taught me how to be still life artist. He taught me how to be impressionistic artist. Uh, he gave me the whole spectrum on the art realm and how to study. Like he would say stuff like, they're not even teaching this stuff in the universities, man.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, you can go to and run a university. You could teach at a university if you wanted to, just all the stuff you love.
Yeah.
And it made me more, like I said, more of a real well-rounded artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's harder for me to have just a particular style because I know so many different mediums and so many different
Yeah.
styles. You have to kind of be creative enough to do something that's completely different from anybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, you're always trying to do.
You got to,
But I
yeah.
mean, what is wrong with knowing all the disciplines? Because that's just going to make you more
Yeah.
individualistic by
Yeah.
marrying all of them together
Oh yeah.
on
Oh,
a
yeah.
canvas.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
So career milestones, man. Let's talk about some of those. You made a jump and
Mhm.
you went from working out of your home
Mhm.
into now a fully functioning
studio.
studio.
Yeah.
That's just bad to the bone,
Yeah,
bro. And I
man.
mean, I love seeing your face there because you're just like you're so happy and complete.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. That was a huge milestone for me to get out of a comfort zone.
Yep.
I think that's for anybody doing anything they want to do.
Amen, brother.
It was tough. It was really tough. But to be in going focusing more on the industry you want to be in and you want to do full time,
Yeah.
and becoming a full time artist versus a part time
You
artist.
got to commit, man.
Man, that was a huge milestone for me. Huge getting the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It tells you if you want it bad
Want
enough
it
or
bad
not.
enough. That's right.
I always say, man, you want to see what someone wants, or you want to see what someone's going to fight for, put them in a corner, right?
Right.
So I mean, dude, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see more of what can evolve, because I know even like the paint gatherings and parties and lessons and everything can only evolve from here.
Right.
What is your vision, and where do you see like the biggest value in like kind of making sure our youth stays and desires and wants and is exposed to art? I mean, what kind of influential practices would you like to see as for parents like me? Give some advice to the parents on, how
Definitely
to get their
stay
kids.
encouraging kids, your children to, like my mom, she's seen something in me that I didn't see in myself,
Yeah.
and I think that's
You're not
where
gonna know. You're just out there just doing you. You're
you're
doing
just
you.
doing something, and I think the encouraging, not necessarily the pushing, but more of the encouraging to be free at something that you love to do. Far as the, either, most people will say, like when I tell them I'm an artist, the first thing people tell me is, oh God, I couldn't even do stick figures. I can't even do a stick figure,
Yeah.
Well, stick figures might make some of the best artwork. You never know. But
Yeah.
if if you're gonna want to be an artist, or
Yeah.
if you like to just doodle or sketch or something, and if that releases something in you to do that, encourage your kids to
Yeah.
do it. You were telling me something that I just thought was wonderful, man, about your daughter, and and keep encouraging,
Yeah.
because you got social media, you got all these devices out there that we didn't have growing up.
No, we didn't.
So it was like we had to be creative doing something, versus not being on a computer or something.
I'm telling you, bro.
I had to sketch, or I had to go out and just, learn to be free and happy doing something.
Their imagination has
Yeah.
been almost stripped by
Yeah.
these devices. And then their short-term memory, and
Yeah.
I mean, just attention span and everything. And I mean, the story I was telling you, I would love to share that
Mhm.
to the viewers. Is she had found a game she'd really
Mhm.
liked on an app, and it was like called Fashion Designer or
Mhm.
whatever. And as children do, they sometimes lose privileges to their
Mhm.
devices. Our
Yeah.
daughter, in that instance, lost her privilege of that device. And I went upstairs into her corner where she has
Mhm.
her art, all of her supplies and everything. And I was like, "What you doing, honey?"
Mhm.
And I look over her shoulder, and she had basically used her imagination to turn that game into real life.
Right.
And she had sketched the silhouettes,
Mhm.
and then she was grabbing color and overlaying the sketches of the clothing. Lo and behold, she's in real life like doing something that's got her creativity flowing. It's got her off of a screen. So, you know, not all devices can be bad, but I think
Yeah.
anything in moderation, but
Yeah.
also using it as a device
Yes.
to inspire creativity.
Creativity, and that's exactly what you did. So that would be my advice, is just, for parents to really just keep, keep trying to, get them out that shell, and to be creative.
Expose them to all the arts.
I would take my daughters when they were like young, and first of all, I taught them the whole color wheel, so they knew the color wheel.
Nice.
They understood color theory, but they would mimic me in the garage while I was painting. And I
Hey.
already had their little easel set up, and so I had
Nice.
their little station set up. When they're like, I'm talking about like 4 and 5. My girls were young,
Nice.
and they would sit up there and mimic daddy.
Yeah.
And I would have I always carried like a towel, and I would have it on my arm, and I'd do it like that to wipe my brush off.
Uh-huh.
And I'd start painting, and then one day I looked over, my daughters were doing the same thing.
Nice.
And I was just like, oh, look, there it is. And now to this day, all of my girls are artists,
Yeah.
They don't paint all the time, but when they're in a mood or something,
Uh-huh.
they'll go in a room in a quiet place and they'll start painting,
Wow.
Or they'll Brianna come up to the studio with me and
It's
say,
their
hey, I want
release.
to paint. It's a release for them.
Yeah, man.
And they know how to release it now,
Well, dude, I love it. And I mean, you do like promote a pretty calm environment.
Yeah.
You're a good listener, but I think it's like because you're in your element and ain't nobody gonna kill your vibe,
man.
but you are going to promote that vibe, and
Oh, yeah.
and so I mean that's just what's so cool about it. You've let my daughter come in there
Yeah.
and paint.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, it's your teaching approach. I know they've kind of just mimicked or shadowed when you're teaching. I mean, what is your approach? Is it similar to Mr. Evans' style? Are you carrying the torch, or have you kind of created
yeah.
some of your own?
Well, with teaching, yes, it's definitely mimicking a lot of stuff he did, in the way he taught us as because I wasn't the only student. He had thousands, hundreds of students,
Yeah.
and he taught the same way. The first way he would start off with color theory, So it depended on the subject that you wanted
One
to
of
get
the
into.
the important building blocks,
But
right?
as far as being a painter, an artist, you have to know your colors. At least you should.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that even with my students, I go break down the color theory, and we break down, everything, from primary, secondary, tertiary, and how to mix it, and what happens if you mix complementary colors with other complementary colors, you're going to get brown, and just how to just create different colors. And then from there, we would go to whatever subject that I was working on or I was interested in, whether it be a portrait or it be a, just a landscape. I used to bring a lot of landscapes into them, and just understanding how value works in color, because you can have a monotone painting, right?
Okay.
And it's so many depths in that painting if you do it right.
Sure.
You can take one color and make
Plain,
so many
but
different
very, very
values
very,
in it.
what intricate, right?
Yeah, man. And so, like, one day I remember he took me outside the studio and he said, "Hey, look at that tree out there." And it was an overcast day, so the sun wasn't really out, but you could see the tree. He goes, point out all the different colors you see of that one green,
Wild.
and it was like, wow, I do see, how, and then how the light hits it to make those variations in that depth. So that's
so
what I
cool,
try to
dude.
teach too, is like how to value your color out. So you're going to start from a 5 to a 1, on your value scale, and 5 being your darkest, 1 being your lightest, right?
Okay.
And then take that and then break it down. And you do the same thing with flesh tones, with light itself. You got to
100%.
know which direction the light is hitting you.
Yeah.
To make sure that color is from what you're seeing versus a picture, it might not be the same color.
Well, and in photography, which is something that I am just so passionate about, you've got the golden hour, right? And that's in the morning and in the evening, but right there when the sun is just perfect and it exudes just it expands your possibilities so many infinite ways. And like you said, it's those are the rules or principles to go off of, just because it's the human eye. And so I see like photography, and we were discussing that once, how similar they align of the principles, right? Memorable moments. What do you have in art itself, but also like maybe you got a funny story or a memorable story from one of your paint parties?
Well,
smiled, so I know you got a
remember a
good
story.
answer.
My favorite story is, and I have video of this, man. I don't know, Pablo, I sent you some video of it, but when Mr. Evans and them damn teeth.
Oh my gosh, I love this story. Yeah, tell me about it.
So hilarious to me, because I came in there on a Ray Lewis painting, right? That I was working on, and this Ray, it was beating me up, man. And I did a short video. You didn't see it, but
I've seen the video. Oh yeah.
I did a short video before I went into class. I said, "Okay, guys, I'm going to take a video of Mr. Evans critiquing my artwork. So you guys think that your art teacher or your instructor is beating you up? You're going to get a taste of what I got to go through." Okay? And just to kind of so we get in there, and then he didn't know I was recording him, and he said, He's talking about the way I did Ray's teeth, because I had a portrait of Ray, and his mouth was open because he was
Yep.
coming out the
He was doing his
he was
entry
doing his
wave out of the
entryway,
tunnel onto
you know.
the field.
So his mouth was open,
Iconic.
and I guess I screwed his teeth up. I didn't know I screwed his teeth up that damn bad. It looked halfway decent to me. But Mr. Evans, he focused on those teeth. And the whole painting was
He's
done.
like a
but
dog on a bone.
he was like, you did the teeth wrong. Teeth don't look like that. He goes, your teeth are not round. Your teeth are flat.
Yeah.
And the whole premise is so another one of the students was there, and she was kind of like, asking questions about it. And he's like, your teeth are certainly not round.
Hey, he was there to knock you back down a peg or two,
it was so
man.
funny, man. That video is just
The teeth.
your teeth are flat. Your teeth
Oh
are flat.
man, he honed in on it like a dog on a bone, bro.
Yeah, he did, man. So I had to go in and correct the teeth and make
There you
sure that
go.
I put did the teeth right.
Yeah.
Because he, like he said, he had them coming in like a shovel. So.
But now
yeah.
every painting you do, that's what you focus on to make
You
sure.
got to make sure it's right.
He did you a favor.
Yeah.
He did you a favor.
Yeah.
No, God bless him, man.
Yeah.
I got I was lucky enough to go out there to his studio that one time, and gosh, he was so hospitable and welcoming, and getting to see him in his element, getting to see the whole vibe, and then just everything that was going on there, man. I loved that. I loved that environment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be kept alive as far as, where it wasn't more of just lessons. I think you guys were all in your careers of just going there just to hone your craft,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
To stay grounded, challenged. But he was there as a support system, and it was more like a community, I think.
It was.
That's what I got.
It definitely was, because he had students. We had students. I grew up with some of the students, believe it or not.
I mean, yeah.
Vic was one of the guys that, he was there when he was 15 too, and he's the same age as me. But yeah, I mean, when you are in that type of environment to where, you're going to learn, and as long as we did it and as much as he taught us, it did feel more like, it was like family there. The studio was, we all love to go. We all love to be around Mr. Evans and just his energy. Mr. Evans, he passed at 92 years old.
Goodness.
And he was still going to the studio. He was still driving.
Yeah.
And he probably still would have been going if he, hadn't fell.
It was his love, man.
He had a strong love for it. And he would always say, teaching and passing what your gift on to somebody was so important to him. And he made me understand why, and I see why, just his legacy. I'm able to see it. And I pray to God that I can do the same thing and pass my legacy on to somebody, through teaching and just even somebody owning my artwork, having a Peter Sparks original, you know. I mean, yeah, that's what you do it for. That's why you do it.
So then what's next for you, man? I mean, what's your next goal? What's your next milestone that you've envisioned for yourself?
At one point, Kev, when I was in Austin, I was doing a lot of art talks, and I was doing a lot of gallery showings, and I was, featured in galleries. I think getting back to that stage, because, I stopped doing it for a while. I just more kind of suppressed my art and just kind of like did it in my garage, in a sense.
Sure. It was a hobby.
It was more of a hobby than, at one point it was
Life
really
got in the
big.
way. It happens,
and then, the kids, and, we moved, and, I kind of put it on the back burner in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to get back in front of the spotlight again, and be, okay, this guy's, Peter Sparks from, Houston, Texas. And, I'd like to get my name out there, which means getting more involved with doing events, doing more gallery talks, and maybe getting some work up to the museums, and not necessarily museums, but like the colleges, and doing some art talks up there for them. And just getting back out there, I think, would be my next thing. And it's a big start, because, I started with the studio.
Yeah.
Now I have a place where people can actually come and visibly see my artwork versus being at the house.
Sure.
So yeah.
You've got walls to put the artwork on, you
Yeah.
know, and display it. So I mean, you know, that's the studio, and you know, is a gallery next?
Hmm.
Would you like it to be your gallery, or would you like to work at someone's or a gallery?
Oh, I definitely want my own gallery. That's the goal. But
Yeah.
starting off, yeah, I don't mind being in somebody else's gallery. Yeah,
Sure.
to get your. That's how you get out there.
No,
You got to
100%.
be out
Yeah.
in somebody else's gallery to.
Do a lot of artists, is that how they kind of get their start? Is they kind of start at a gallery and they, you know, learn, and I mean, it kind of also helps you kind of identify, you know, buyers and what they like and what they look for.
Right. You have to get your name out there.
Sure.
To be honest with you, you got to get out, and best way to get out is doing competitions.
Yeah.
Going and competing in different art shows. Believe it or
Really?
not. Yeah.
Nice.
Because once the art world sees who you are and recognizes you as an artist, everything else will come easy.
Yeah.
Getting in the galleries will come a lot easier. They're going to
Sure.
be asking you to come be invited to their galleries. Doing events is a big thing. Going to hotels and setting up events and just displaying your artwork, and get about 2 or 3 other artists. Y'all go in and we have a huge art show,
Yep.
an event.
Yep.
Invite
Pop-up events.
yeah, pop-up events, invite certain artists out there,
Mhm.
that are trying in the same place as you, or getting established as well. Or even that are established. You can get somebody that's established and to be, they come out and have some artwork there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So what do you see, social media, what kind of influence and benefit to the art world do you see it being used as a tool?
Oh, it's huge right now. I just need to get on board.
It's tough, man. I mean, it's tough, but you started
huge.
today.
Yes,
You're here.
I'm here. This is part of it, right?
You're here,
So
bro.
this is part of my social media journey. Yes, it's huge right now. I mean, I can't I'm an artist, and when I go on, I'm usually typing up something about art. So now every time I stream something on Instagram, it's some artist, with their artwork, and they're turning their picture around and
Yeah, the reveal.
doing a reveal.
You're
or
seeing a
something
lot of
like
behind
that.
the scenes,
Yeah.
like kind of in the moment of painting
Mhm.
the actual painting,
Yeah.
more so instead of just like a gallery, right?
Right.
But you also see like those reveals.
Mhm.
That's the new style
Yeah.
of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's always gonna change. It's
Mhm.
always. So do you have any big influences that you like to pay attention to on social media that you would say is cutting edge, if you will, for the art world?
Uh, I wouldn't know who they were, to be honest with you.
Sure.
I follow them. I
These
know
days,
Brittany.
it's hard to identify if it's the artist or some curator
Yeah.
putting all this out there.
There's a couple artists that I follow. One of them is her first name is Brittany, and she does a lot of abstract. That's all she does is like abstract, and
Yeah.
she's really good at it. And it's like she does rollers, and she's moving the art around, and it almost looks like it's waves of color
Yeah.
coming at you, man. So I follow a couple of those artists, to be inspired, and yeah. So there's a couple of artists out here that I'm following.
It's so wild, man. Like there's that one, this guy that basically it's like a trapeze artist almost. He's hanging upside down with his, and I mean, like you look at it, and so some of these assembly line artists is what I like to call them. Not devaluing their work at all, because I mean they're fetching high dollar for
Yeah.
it, but they're producing so much. And Jeremy Willie, an
Jeremy.
acquaintance of both of ours, had kind of explained like, that doesn't devalue your
Mhm.
work. If anything, it increases your exposure,
Mhm.
which is that what you said was the
Right.
most important part about
Right.
becoming a successful artist. But this dude hangs upside down, and he's got these contraptions, I think, that have made him more famous. That it's not brushes, it's not just paint cans, because he wants to control the swirl and the disbursement of the color of the paint. But then the canvas is beneath him on a rotating wheel spinning too. So he goes out there and he's spinning and the canvas is spinning, and it's just like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, but he can control it, and it's just turned into something amazing.
I have an idea in my head that I want to do, and I've been floating around for years.
I know. Well,
I'm not even gonna say what it is because I haven't done it because it's just an idea. But I have
look
something.
who's up on that.
I have something. There he is.
I think,
Bruce.
that's on your garage wall.
Yes, that was one I painted on my wall. On my wall.
Yeah. So no clues, but maybe a clue is something in there involves one of your ideas.
Yes, it does.
So that's for the next episode.
Yeah.
And maybe just maybe you'll see your first remote Go Long Studios podcast
That'd be cool.
in Peter's studio.
That'd be great, yeah.
I have an in, depending upon if he cut the grass that day, if we'll get a secret entry, because I've got a family member right there that can get me in and talk me into the door of Peter Sparks Studios, baby. Oh man, but hey, I got your back. I'll tell him, hey, you need to cut that grass, bro. Oh, I love it, man. We're family, and thank you for coming today, dude.
Thank you, man, for having me.
I
really
am looking
love it.
forward to the next one,
Yes.
and I am looking forward to our first remote, like in your studio.
Yeah.
How does someone go about booking your studio for a paint party?
They can reach out through my Instagram.
Okay.
It's P Sparks Art.
P Sparks Art
P
is
Sparks
okay.
Art.
All one word. We're gonna put that down below in post production and contact you, or do you
Just
have
contact me directly.
Perfect. And so, what size? Like, what do you typically accommodate on a paint party? What is the size average?
16 by 20 is going to be
16 to 20 people is about.
Oh, you talking about the people? Yeah. 20 is the most I'm going to be able to do. In the
Yeah,
studio.
that's a lot of heads in there. So what's your ideal size for that? 10 people?
Yeah.
And
10.
you said is it like, this is what, 24 by 24?
This is 24 by 24.
So you're walking out with a 16 by 20?
Right, a 16 by
Cool.
20, or now my last paint party I did a 10 by 10s, and
Okay.
I did them flat, and we did acrylic pours.
Ooh, acrylic pours, cool,
Acrylic pours was
man.
really fun, man. So
Yeah, it is.
I would like to do a couple more of those
Nice.
because I think just it was a lot easier,
Yeah.
you know, and believe it or not, a lot
It's
cleaner.
different.
It was
cleaner.
It was a lot cleaner. It was a
Wow.
lot. No one got paint on their aprons.
Yeah, that's
or put a brush, you know, in their wine or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, carrying the spirit on of Mr. Evans,
Yeah.
I just heard that you had wine at your paint parties.
Yeah.
He was such an incredible host. When I concluded my visit there, we all sat down and had a glass of wine.
That was his tradition. After class,
I love it.
After class, all the students and himself, we all drank wine after
Beautiful,
class,
man.
and listen to jazz.
We'll keep carrying on that tradition of that wonderful man. You've got some of his pieces hanging on the walls at your studio, and I know some of them are looking for a lovely home too.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The family was so gracious enough to let me have.
Correct. They put you in charge of them.
In charge of them, yeah. And I tell you what, man, there's some amazing paintings in the studio. He's got this Baltimore series that
the Baltimore series I'm in love with. It is, and you know, as hard as I'm sure you hate to see it go, it's only in Mr. Evans' influence. I can guarantee you, he's happy it's going because it's giving you more real estate back for you to continue to create.
Oh yeah, yes it is.
I love it.
Yes it is. Yes it is. So
well, looking forward to the next one, and mark my words, maybe we will get a remote out there to go to the studio and have a little paint party.
I love it.
Man, brother, thank you so much
for
joining us. This has been fun.
Yes.
And dude, I can't wait to see some of the awesome pieces that you keep churning out, bro.
Already. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. Ready.